So guys, welcome to this video. We're looking at what it is a trend line. And we are going to also be looking at how to draw trend lines. So trend lines are diagonal lines drawn on the chart that are equivalent to support and resistance. So as you can see right here, where we have our support and resistance line, you can see we can have a trend line to also use as a support line for an uptrend. And even as a downtrend, we can have a trend line to use as our resistance line. So trend lines are diagonal lines drawn on chart that is equivalent to support and resistance. For an uptrend, the trend line is drawn as a support. You can see it here. Price comes here. We said in an uptrend we have higher highs and higher lows, higher highs and higher lows. So it's just the concept of support and resistance. Okay. Now, for a downtrend, it is drawn as a resistance at the top here at the peak. And you can see we have lower highs and lower lows. So the trend line, you can see the price is respecting the trend line. Okay. So for a trend line to be valid, it has to have more than two touches. You can see like here we have 1, 2, and then we have the third touch here. You can see. So let's just draw. Let's have some illustration using our Google dashboard. Now, just like we explained, and we know that we have on uptrend, we have higher highs and higher lows, like this. So the trend line can just be drawn here. Now, you don't want to cut across the candlesticks. You just want to draw them to touch the wick. Okay, this is just an illustration and it might not be too good, but when we go to the chart, you see it better. So this is just the trend line. So one price came here and he found a support, went up, found another support, went up, found another support, and it now rallied up. Okay, and don't forget where we discussed about support and resistance. Now you can see like this line here now. This was a resistance line. You see when price touched it, it now came here and met this support line, and now you can see there's a confluence here. We have this support line and we have a trend line here. I don't know if you understand what we're trying to do. So you can see this is now like a strong confluence where we have price touching this level and then price moving up. Okay, so that is how it is. So for a downtrend, it's same thing, where we have lower highs and lower lows, lower highs, lower lows. So when you want to draw your trend line, you just connect the tops here. Like I said, don't cut the candlesticks. Okay, you have to put it at the peak. And my diagram might not be accurate, but when we go to the chart, we'll see it better. So just like we have, you can see price respecting the trend line as our resistance line. Came, touch, came, touch, and then went downwards. Now, one thing you want to understand is this: when you are drawing your support and resistance, you can come and draw a line here now. Now you can see this is what we call a resistance line here. You can see that price touched it here as a support, went up, came down. Now support became resistance around this zone here. You can see the zone, and now you can see these two conflicts, a trend line conflict, support and resistance. When they both met, what happened? Price rallied down. So let's go to the chart and we'll see better. So we said that we just go back to where we came from. We say trend lines are diagonal lines. You can see for an uptrend, downtrend, and we say for a trend line to be valid, it has to have up to 2 touches. Okay, so how do we draw these trend lines? You start from a prominent high for a downtrend. Like this is a downtrend. You can see this downtrend. Okay, so you start from the prominent high for a downtrend or prominent low from uptrend, and then you draw it. Now connect the trend line with most touches. You can connect the trend line with most of the touches. You can see we have one touch here, we have another touch here, and then you can see how price broke through the trend line at this point, retested, and then we had an uptrend. Now, never try to force a trend line to fit. Trend line should be drawn on higher time frames. Now, when you want to draw trend lines, don't draw them on lower time frame like the 1 minute or the 5 minutes, but go to higher time frames like the daily time frame, the 4 hours time frame, the 1 hour time frame. Trend lines that are drawn on higher time frames tends to hold more better than trend lines that are drawn on lower time frames. Now you can see this chart here. You can see how we draw our trend line. You don't want to draw your trend line to cut the candle, but you want to draw it to touch the wicks. You can see this now. One touch here. We have another touch here. We have on third touch here, and then you see how price rallied down, came through and broke the trend line. Then we had another touch here, and then you can see how price respected this trend line, this uptrend line, came through, touch it here, 1 2 3. Then we had price moving, price came, broke and retested the trend line. So you can see how price is respecting this trend line. Now you can see at this point here where price tested this, came close to this trend line here, found a resistance, went down. When price came here, resistance became found a support here, but here support here became resist. I'm sorry, this is a resistance. Sorry, found a resistance here and then came here. But when it came here, resistance became support here, and you can see that it's the confluence met with the trend line confluence here. The support line here. This is a support line meeting with the trend line. You can see how price rallied upwards. So this is how you can also use trend line to as a trading strategy for your trade. So we have many examples that we're going to look at, but right away let's just go into the chart so we discuss better. Okay, let's use the USD JPY. Now you can see this is the USD JPY. Let's go to the higher, let's go to 1 week. You can see here. Let's go to daily. Now this is the daily. This is the daily chart. Now we can draw a trend line here. We can also move to the 4 hours time. 4 hours. Good, but let's go to daily and then we can come to the 4 hours. Good. Good. So you can see what we have here, right? You can see what we have here. You can see price. You can see that for the 1 week we had an uptrend, we had a downtrend, then we are having an uptrend right now. So let's go to the daily. Okay, you can see this is the uptrend, and then this is the downtrend, and then we're having an uptrend right here. So let's start with this uptrend, this one here. So if you want to draw a trend line on your MetaTrader 5, you come to this place, click trend line, then you can see here. See, this is what we have here. What happened is that price came through. You can see price. This is for the uptrend, right? We're drawing it as a support. See, when price touches here, it went up, and then we had a break of trend line and a retest. Now, when you see something like this, when you see a break of trend line, especially trend line from a higher time frame, and there is a retest, you want to know that the trade has reversed. Now you can see that it retested the trend line, and then we had a down push here. So if we are to draw this trend line for the uptrend, what are we going to draw? You can now see we want to draw it here. You can see this high here, and then you can see what happened. Okay, you don't want to force this trend line, you just want to draw it exactly the way you see it. Now look at what happened here now. You can see price touch here, came here, second touch, and then price begin to rally down. Now look at what price did here. It broke through the trend line, retested, and we had another push upward here. We had another trend line here. You can see what price did now. see price breaking the trend line, making us have another trend line here, and then you can see what price is doing right away. Okay, so this is how to draw your trend lines. Okay, now a break of this trend, a test of this trend line, a break of the trend line will mean that price is moving in another direction, in the opposite direction. When you see a break and a retest, now you can see price breaking this trend line now and testing this support here, and you can see price now rallying upwards. So we can also put another trend line there. Okay, sorry about that. And this is what we're having here. So we are having here. You can see what happened here. Price came, tested it, tested, made up. You can have something like this. Price tested, came, broke the trend line, came back, broke the trend line, and came respected the trend line at this point. Then we might have a push upward. Okay, so this is how you can plot your trend line. Okay, and plot your trend lines. So we can also go to the 4 hours to see better. So this is how you can use your trend line as a support line or as a resistance line on your chart.